So today we're going to head back over to the FMBase website and we're going to check out their article on the top 5 Spanish Wonderkids. And to see just how good they can get, we're going to put them all into a team together and simulate forward 9 seasons and find out which one really is the best and which one is worth the purchase for your Football Manager save. Come join us. Hola amigos, mi nombre es Josh y bienvenidos a FMBase. And if we're going to be looking at the top 5 Spanish Wonderkids, you can imagine there's only one place to start. And of course we're talking about Barcelona. However, the article doesn't pick up on young Gavi, so we'll take a quick look at him first. So at just 16, you'll notice straight away all of his stats are absolutely fantastic and his mentals are particularly high. I don't think I've seen mentals this high on somebody under 19, to be honest with you, doing all of these videos so far. His physicals are very good as well. His strength is only at an 8, as you'll see here, but again, he's just 16 and that will develop, I've got absolutely no doubt at all. And then if we have a look at his technicals, a dribbling of 15, first touch of 15, passing at 14 and technique at 16, they are absolutely fantastic, again for just 16 years old. So we'll keep an eye on this one as a secret little number 6, special just for you. But the first name we're going to look at is the heir apparent to Lionel Messi, and that is Ansu Fati. At 18 years of age, you'll notice his strength is a 9, so only 1 higher than Gavi, but his acceleration and his pace are pretty good here. His mentals are quite solid as well. His flair of a 19 is really impressive, and all of his technicals are pretty good as well. But is he going to match up to the highs of Lionel Messi? We'll find out in 9 seasons time. So the next name we're going to be looking at is Pedri, and as you'll see here, looking at his stats again, same as Ansu Fati and Gavi, some really impressive figures here. His holy trinity here is actually 17, 12 and 18, so actually higher than Ansu Fati's. And his technique and passing is 17 and 17, which again is also higher than Ansu Fati. His mentals are really impressive, especially his decision making and anticipation at the 17 and the 16, and his vision at the 17. And his physicals are very solid as well. Again, his strength only at the 9, but he's just 18, so give the guy a break. But everything else is looking pretty solid here. The mentals on those 3 kids at Barcelona are fantastic, so there must be something in the water in La Masia. The next player we're looking at here is Raul Moro, who ironically did spend some time at Barcelona earlier in his career. He was actually at Espanyol, then Barcelona, before he got purchased by Lazio. Now at 18, his mentals and his physicals are not quite as good as the other guys that we've looked at so far, and his technicals likewise are not as high as the previous 3 that we've seen. However, all of his attributes are quite solid, with his dribbling, finishing and first touch 13, 12 and 13, technique still at the 13, so his technical attributes are still quite strong. His mentals are not too bad, and his physicals, his strength is only a 7, but again, he's young, blah blah blah. But his acceleration and his pace at 15 and 14 are both pretty good, and that should bode him well as a winger. The next player we're going to look at is Yeremy Pino, who started his career at Las Palmas and is now at Villarreal. So at just 18 years of age, his technical attributes are all pretty impressive here, mainly his dribbling and his technique both at the 16, and his first touch of a 14. His mentals are not quite as strong as the other guys, and his physicals that neither, but they are still very impressive for somebody of just 18 years of age. And out of the players we've looked at so far, he's probably the most affordable for something in the region of 19 to 30 million, but his wage demands are going to be quite low. And the last player we're going to look at, we are going to head over to Real Madrid now and find Bruno Iglesias. Interesting fact, Bruno Iglesias is actually the love child of popular singer Enrique Iglesias. No, he's not really. I'm just lying to you. What I'm not lying to you about is that he is the most affordable of the Wonderkids we've looked at so far, typically available for under 15 million, and his wage demands are not very high either, but he has some good potential and certainly could be worth a look for your save. Again, at 18 years of age, his technical attributes are not as high as the other players we've looked at, nor are his mentals, nor his physicals. However, I'm pretty confident based on his potential ability that I've looked at, he can get much better than this. And you could certainly, if he doesn't make it into your first team as a regular, you can make a lot of money off this kid. But you know how I like to do things so far. I don't want to have to go through all these different squads and hope that somebody plays these guys regularly enough to show us how good they become. So I'm going to put them all together into one team that I can manage, and I can ensure that their development is looked after and they play the games that they need in order to reach the potential that we think that they could. So which team am I going to pick? Well, I thought I quite fancied the holiday and I would take us all to Barcelona. Not that Barcelona. This Barcelona. So one thing that you might have noticed while we were looking at all these Wonder Kids is that they all play in pretty similar positions. So how was I going to find a tactic that was going to work that I could play all of these guys at the same time? Well, fear ye not. As ever, the FMBase website have got you covered. And I managed to find this Promise 9 positive tiki-taka formation that allowed me to play all of the players in the positions that I needed. So we've got Ansu Fati in the false 9 position up the front here. Raul Moro is an inverted winger out on the left. Yeremy Pino is an inverted winger out on the right. Bruno Iglesias as the shadow striker, and I put Pedri into a central midfield on attacking role here. And you may have noticed looking at the screen that I have in fact started the season already. And Espanyol are currently sitting in 7th position. If we look at the screen, you cast your eyes up here, you'll notice that we've scored a hell of a lot of goals so far, with only Real Madrid and Barcelona scoring more than us. I just need to sort out that leaky defence. Now, I've shown you the players and I've shown you the formation. We're going to simulate forward for 4 seasons, push all of these Wonder Kids up to the age of 22. We're going to take a look at how they've developed so far and how well Espanyol have done before we then simulate another 5 seasons where I'm going to relinquish control and let these kids do whatever the hell that they want. What's going to happen? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Are we going to be happy? Are we going to be sad? There's only one way to find out. Let's run there. So we are back now, 4 seasons into the future, and I have looked after these players as if they were my own flesh and blood. I've looked after their personal development, I've ensured they've played every game, and we have used the trusty FM-based tactic throughout all of these seasons. So first things first, let's see how did Espanyol get on. So at the end of the first season, we finished 3rd position, 20 points behind Barcelona, who won the league, and 11 points behind Real Madrid. However, if you take a look here, we actually scored 87 goals, which is more than any other team in La Liga. And in the second season, things just went wild as Espanyol won La Liga, and Levante actually finished in 3rd position, leaving Barcelona just getting into 4th by 9 points. But Espanyol are mounting a massive 134 goals there, conceding only 32. I did make some changes. I made some transfers. I brought in 1 or 2 better defenders and a better goalkeeper to shore up that back line. Well, I touched nothing in the midfield and I left our 5 Wonder Kids playing the whole time. And in the 3rd season, yet again, Espanyol won La Liga, this time scoring 139 goals and only conceding 26. Yet again, I did have to make a goalkeeping change, and I'll show you that in the squad in a little bit. But with a goal difference of 113, absolutely fantastic. This time Barcelona, though, finished in 6th position, as Valencia, Sevilla and Atletico all finished above them. But in the 4th season, for the 3rd time in a row, Espanyol won La Liga, and again another season scoring above 130 goals. With a goal difference of 101. We were level on points at 98 with Real Madrid, but due to the head-to-head record, we were the winners. But this time, Barcelona do return into the Champions League in 3rd position. But how have our players performed during this time, and how have they developed? Let me show you. So as you can see, first of all, in the formation, I haven't changed it at all. I have brought in a young player here whose name I cannot say. He's from Sporting, Ugarte, I believe. And in the back here, I have actually brought Konza from Aston Villa. This guy, not ukulele. And this guy, Aranjo. And I've also brought Simicas from Liverpool onto the left back position. And Unai Simon from Atletico Bilbao was on the transfer list, so I picked him up as well. All the players I did transfer were on the transfer list, so I haven't just gone poaching into other players' teams. But first things first, let's take a look at Ansu Fati. Now, I've been playing Ansu Fati the whole time as a false 9. His media description is elite winger, which is really bizarre considering he hasn't played wing for like 5 years now. But his acceleration, if you take a look, and his pace, both very strong here, and his strength has moved up to a 12. But look at these mentals here. His flares at the 19, determination, off the ball and vision, all above 16, which is very, very strong. His composure to 15, which is great as well. His passing leaves a little bit to be desired, but he has been playing as a false 9. So the important things has been his dribbling, finishing and first touch, and they are 17, 16 and 15. Looking really, really strong here, valued at 80 to 105 million. And if we take a look while he's been here, his rating hasn't dropped below a 717. He's actually been above a 7.6 for the last 3 seasons, giving him an average rating in this save so far 7.46. So overall, some really impressive performances, and at 22, still probably about 3 years away from his peak ability, he's looking really strong. And if we take a look at Pedri now, he looks absolutely fantastic. His strength is up to 11, which is wonderful again, but all of his mentals are so high, they're so impressive where it matters the most. His anticipation, composure, decision making, his flair off the ball, his vision, his teamwork's at a 13, which is probably the only thing that leaves a little bit to be desired. But those big ones are all in the high scoring attribute points. His dribbling and his first touch are very impressive, and his passing and his technique as a central midfielder, which I have been playing him at throughout this save, those attributes are absolutely fantastic, especially at 22. Judging by the star rating, he's still got a little bit to go, and judging by the fact that he is only 22, I imagine he's still got a bit to develop yet, and he's described as an elite attacking midfielder, which suits to where he's actually been playing. And if we take a look at his career stats, oh my, an average of 7.38, but look at these goals that he's scored. I mean, if we take away these, 7 that he scored before he joined us, he's actually scored 67 goals across 4 seasons from central midfield. I'll say that again, 67 goals in 4 seasons in La Liga alone from the central midfield position, with 34 assists. 34 assists? It is 34 assists. He has played absolutely phenomenally in that position. And also, like Ansu Fati, at just 22, he has some way to go potentially to develop even further. What an amazing player. Now we move over to Yeremy Pino, which, if you remember, I told you he was available for under 15 million at the start of the game. Just 4 seasons on, you're looking at about 95 to 116 million. So that could potentially be one hell of an investment for you to make. And looking at his stats here, where we've been playing him as a winger, his acceleration and pace are very strong, and his agility is very good. His strength is actually picked up to a 13, and his dribbling and crossing at 15 and 17 is really good. That's what you want to be seeing. His technique at 17, passing at 15. And then very importantly, his decisions at 16 and his vision at 17. So as a winger, he's developed beautifully here. And again, he's 22, he's probably still got some way to go. And believe it or not, his average rating is actually 7.45, which is higher than Pedri, who scored all of those goals and assists from central midfield. And if we take away his 6 goals, he's actually scored 64 goals from the wing position, and unbelievably 54 assists as well over these 4 seasons, with 19 Man of the Match awards. These guys have been playing absolutely fantastically. So again, another very solid outing from a player who still has a way to go in his development, but the biggest thing to highlight is you could purchase him for very cheap, sort of around the 4 to 15 million mark, depending on your save at the time. But he is worth now, just 4 seasons later, 95 to 116 million. If we take a look at Raul Moro, who we've been playing out on the left wing, he's looking very solid throughout. Not as spectacular as the other 3 guys we've looked at so far, but his acceleration and pace are very strong at 16 each, and his agility is 16. His strength has only lifted up to a 10, so he's not been pumping the weights quite as much as the other guys. But in comparison to where he was, he has developed quite a bit. But let's take a look at his career stats and see how he's performed. So Raul Moro has actually performed at a 7.73, which I can't quite remember, and I'm not going to go back and look at all the other players, but I'm pretty sure he could be the best performing player of all the Wonder Kids that we've looked at so far. And he, like Pedri, scored 67 goals over 4 seasons from the wing position. 67 goals, 88 assists though, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Only 1 season has he had less than 20 assists. And if you can see here, it was 29 assists. Now, bear in mind, this is just in the league by itself. Absolutely amazing. Considering technical attributes-wise and the mentals and the physicals, he's not as high as the other guys. His actual performances have excelled and exceeded what the other players have done so far. But despite not having attributes as high as the rest of the players that we've looked at so far, perhaps the blend of his personality and the player traits, along with his suitability to the role that we've put him in the formation, has meant that his performances have excelled everybody so far, and he's been able to pick up a lot of individual awards. He's available now for about 77 to 96 million, but at the start of the game you are probably looking at about 30 million to try and pry him away from Lazio. And lastly, Bruno Iglesias, again one of the players that are probably, along with Yeremy Pino, the easiest to pick up at the start of the game. Now valued at 85 to 104 million. And his stats have improved quite considerably. His technical attributes are much better now. His mentals have picked up considerably, with his composure still only at a 14, but his anticipation at the 17, his flair 17, and his vision at 17 very well suited to that attacking midfielder position. And all of his physicals are solid, if not spectacular, but he has certainly been hitting the gym now with the strength at 14. But if we take a look at his career stats, not as spectacular as the other players, but still, a 7.18 average rating over 4 seasons is certainly not to be scoffed at. 55 goals and 42 assists, which is absolutely fantastic. But again, he has picked up quite significantly, and he's performed exceptionally well in that position. So we've taken a look at how the players develop under my expert tutelage over the last 4 seasons, and how that has benefited Espanyol. The question is now, what is going to happen over the next 5 years? Will these players develop even further? And if so, which one is going to be the best and worth it for your FM save? Let's take a look. So before we look at the players, if we quickly take a look at the league, you'll notice in the first season when we left, Espanyol went from winning the league down to 15th, not looking very clever there. In the next season, who knows what happened, they bumped back up to 4th and actually qualified for the Champions League. The following season, another finish in 4th position. For the penultimate season of this save, they finished in 3rd, so they managed to push themselves back up as Real Madrid and Barcelona re-established themselves as the top 2. And unfortunately, in the last season, they did drop down to 5th, with Atletico Madrid and Sevilla taking 2 of the places remaining outside of Real Madrid and Barcelona in the top 4. But let's take a look at the players. To be perfectly honest with you, not a lot has really changed, and certainly not for the better. There's been 1 or 2 differences. I think the composure has gone up by 1, but then his pace and acceleration have both dropped by 1, as has his work rate. So at the age of 27, it looks like Ansu Fati may have peaked and now be starting to head on that downward track. But obviously the biggest surprise is that he is still at Espanyol, despite the little dip that they had. Perhaps he's developed some sort of affinity for the club. However, if we look at his performances since we've left the club, his lowest rating has been a 7.17. Every other season he's been above 7.2, which is very impressive. He's been scoring goals and assists. His lower appearances here have indicated there's been some sort of injury, which I did check out, and he did suffer quite a bad hip injury. He was out for a long period of time, and that might explain why some of his speed stats are starting to drop a little bit. However, still some fantastic performances. But with a transfer value of around about 100 million 9 seasons into the save at the age of 27, he's still a great player to have if you've managed somehow to pry him from Barcelona for a good deal earlier on in the game, which to be honest is highly unlikely, but still a superb player. So next up is Pedri, and you'll see here, he is also still at Espanyol and is still, most importantly, a fantastic looking player. All of his attributes are still so strong here. These mentals, again, so impressive. His physicals are still pretty good at the age of 27, but all of his technicals are still strong. He's looking just as good as he was a couple of years ago, if not marginally better. And if we take a look at his career stats, he has continued to score in the double digits every single season. His worst average rating is 7.22, which is just phenomenal. I mean, his whole career he's averaged 7.38. Absolutely fantastic. So many assists, so many goals, so many man of the matches. He just looks and plays fantastically well. And with the transfer value of around about 120 million at the age of 27, Pedri, again, if you can manage to pry him away from Barcelona, would be one heck of a signing. He is an absolutely fantastic midfielder. Now, staying with Espanyol, yes, another player has still remained at the club, Raul Moro, Stats wise, all of his attributes are okay. I mean, nothing is spectacular. His physicals are quite good, his mentals are okay. All of his technical attributes, everything is just okay. And if we jump over to his career stats, however, this screen is doing something funky where it keeps dropping him into the B squad, but they don't actually play him, and he does play more or less full seasons in the full team, so no idea what's going on there. Now you'll notice in this season 2006-2007 he only made 7 appearances. I've taken a look, there were no big injuries there, so Lord knows what was going on and why he didn't play much, and obviously he only had quite a low average rating because he didn't play a lot of games. However, in the following seasons he was above the 7s, he was still scoring goals, and if we take a look down here, despite that one dodgy season, he's averaged a 7.48, so his performances have been absolutely fantastic. So as I mentioned before, even though he doesn't have the technical attributes, the mental attributes, the physical attributes that match up to the rest of the players in this list, his performances in that position, the inside winger on the left, absolutely fantastic. I cannot rate him highly enough for the performances he's put in. And being valued at around £100 million, this could be quite a good signing again if you can prize him away from Lazio. And yes, sticking with Espanyol, another player, Bruno Iglesias, has not left Espanyol either. If we take a look at his technical attributes, his mentals are all pretty good actually, and his physicals are very solid, and his technical attributes are pretty good where you want them to be. He's not fantastic, but again, looking very solid at the age of 27. Now if you look at his career stats, again, it's got this funny thing with Espanyol B. However, in this season here, we're looking at 26-27 and 25-26. He didn't actually play any games at all for Espanyol. I've got no idea why. That 26-27 season is the same one that Raul Moro also didn't make a lot of appearances. Perhaps they had a dodgy manager in that spell, but for some reason he didn't play. But when he was brought back into the squad, he did average over 7 on the average rating, his lowest 7.08. He was scoring goals, he was putting in assists, performing very well, and despite having those seasons where he didn't play, his overall average rating is a 7.16 with 79 goals in 244 starts and 55 assists. Those stats are still pretty darn good. But with an approximate transfer rating of about 90 to 100 million and being available for quite a good price at the start of the game from Real Madrid, he certainly would be a good idea and a good wonder kid to pick up at the start of your save. And lastly, a player who actually did leave Espanyol, Yeremy Pino, was purchased by Man City. We'll take a look at the transfer in a moment, but while we're on this page, we take a look at his stats. They're very much as they were previously. Nothing's really changed. He's not got worse, he's not got better. He's still looking like a pretty good winger. But let's check out how he's performed. So as you'll see here, immediately after he left Espanyol, Man City picked him up for 148 million. Now bearing in mind this is a player that is probably available for around the 30 million, 15 to 30 million mark at the start of the game. You can then sell him for 148 million to Manchester City just 5 seasons in. That is a shrewd move. And if we look at his performances, he certainly hasn't let Man City down. His lowest average rating for the season, 7.41. Really great average rating, so most of them above 7.6 as you can see here. He's continued to score goals, he's banged in loads of assists, and over these 9 seasons he's had a 7.51 average rating with 95 goals and 95 assists. Shame he didn't have 95 man of the match awards to tie it all up, but some really great performances. And at 27, this is more or less his peak. His performances are still really high, his attributes are quite solid, but the biggest takeaway from this, Yeremy Pino, purchase him for 30 million, sell him for 148. And I bet you thought we forgot about him. Well, I didn't. Gavi, we looked at him right at the start of the game when he was 16. He is now 25 years old, so he's probably still got another few years of development, but these mental attributes are absolutely fantastic, and these physicals are brilliant. Media description of a world-class midfielder certainly does justice to his attributes over here. His technicals are not as good as Pedri's, if I'm perfectly honest with you, but they are still good enough for what you need as a midfielder. But these mental and physical attributes, wow. And with a transfer value in the region of 120 million, if you can somehow pry him away from Barcelona at the age of 16, you've not only got one heck of a player on your hand, but potentially a massive cash windfall if you decide to sell him. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video and it's given you an insight into the top 5 Spanish Wonderkids and perhaps given you some ideas of someone to purchase for your save. It's gotta be FMBase, right? Well, I sincerely do hope you've enjoyed it. If so, please drop us a like and subscribe to the channel and drop any comments that you have in the comment section down below. I shall endeavour to answer each and every one of you, and it helps us to produce more of the content that you want to see. And if you'd like to connect with me directly, I am FMFO Official on Twitter and on Twitch. But remember, this is the place, it's FMBase. I'll see you next time.